Just think about this for a second. The insane amount of information that's packed inside our own bodies. I mean, every single cell, every gene, every protein, it's all a data point. We are generating a literal digital ocean of this biological data. But here's the catch. What if most of that data is just a mess? No labels, no guideposts telling us what's what? Well, we're going to dive into how a really clever AI technique is turning that messy data into an absolute secret weapon for medical breakthroughs.
So here's what we're going to cover. First up, we'll get into biology's huge data problem. Then we'll introduce the really elegant AI solution that's designed to fix it, and we'll peek under the hood to see how it works. After that, and this is the fun part, we'll look at the incredible real-world impact it's already having, before we wrap up with the current challenges and what's coming next.
All right, so let's get right to the heart of the problem. It's great that we're basically swimming in biological data. Fantastic, right? But for an AI to actually learn from it, it usually needs that data to be neatly labeled. And that, right there, is the massive bottleneck.
And this slide really just nails the whole issue. You've got labeled data on one side. That's the stuff where a human expert has painstakingly gone in and said, this is a cancer cell or this gene does this. It's the gold standard for sure. But it is so rare, super expensive, and just takes forever to create. And on the other side, we have mountains and mountains of unlabeled data. It's everywhere, it's easy to get, but it's completely raw and messy. Your typical AI just looks at that and has no idea what to do.
And I'm not talking about a little bit of data here. With all the advances in studying genes, proteins, and all the other omics, the amount of information has just exploded. We've created a true digital ocean. So you've got this huge imbalance, right? A tiny island of perfect, labeled data in a massive ocean of the messy, unlabeled stuff. Clearly, we needed a much smarter approach.
And that smarter approach, well, it has a name: semi-supervised learning, or SSL for short. This is pretty much the hero of our story today. It's an approach that's specifically designed to dive into that vast, unlabeled ocean and start making sense of it all.
And here is the absolute key. This is the big idea. SSL doesn't just ignore all that unlabeled data. No way. It uses that small, precious bit of labeled data as a kind of Rosetta Stone to unlock all the patterns and secrets hiding in the massive unlabeled dataset. It's really the best of both worlds.
Okay, so this visual breaks it down perfectly. The model starts by training on that small, trusted set of labeled data. Then, it turns to the giant, unlabeled pile and starts making educated guesses. It creates what we call pseudo-labels. It then takes its most confident guesses, adds them to the original training set, and retrains itself on this new, bigger mix of real and pseudo-labels. It literally gets smarter with every single loop.
So, where does SSL fit into the bigger AI picture? Well, you've got supervised learning, which is great but needs a ton of labeled data. And you've got unsupervised learning, which needs no labels at all but can sometimes miss the point. SSL just hits that perfect sweet spot right in the middle. Its biggest advantage is that it uses all the data you have. The only catch? As you can see, if that unlabeled data is really noisy or messy, it can sometimes lead the model astray.
So how in the world does SSL actually pull this off? It sounds a bit like magic, right? Well, let's take a quick look under the hood at a couple of the core techniques that make it all happen.
All right, first up is probably the most straightforward method. It's called self-training. And honestly, the name pretty much gives the whole game away.
It's this constant loop of self-improvement. The model trains on what it knows for sure, makes predictions about what it doesn't, adds its own most confident predictions back into the pile of things it knows, and then does it all over again. It is literally teaching itself how to get better and more accurate with every single pass.
Now, for another really smart method, co-training. This one is based on a simple idea we all know. 2 heads are better than 1. Or, in this case, 2 different views of the data are better than 1. Picture this. You have 2 experts. One is an expert in a protein's genetic sequence. The other is an expert in how that protein interacts with all the other proteins around it. You train both of them on the same labeled data. Then, they each go out, label some of the unknown data from their unique perspective, and share those labels with the other one. They're literally teaching each other, and through this collaboration, they both become way more accurate than they ever could be on their own. Okay, that's the theory. It's cool, it's clever, but what does it actually do for us in the real world? This is where it gets incredibly exciting. Let's look at how this abstract algorithm is leading to real, tangible, life-saving breakthroughs. In genomics, SSL is an absolute game changer. By sifting through enormous amounts of unlabeled DNA data,
It can spot these super subtle patterns that help researchers classify different types of cancer more accurately or predict what a newly discovered gene might do. It's finding the needle in a giant genetic haystack.
And how about finding new medicines? You know, the traditional way is notoriously slow and costs a fortune. Well, SSL helps by predicting which of the millions of possible chemical compounds are most likely to work against a specific disease. This just slashes the time it takes to find promising candidates and gets new treatments into the pipeline way faster.
And this right here, this gets to the holy grail of modern medicine, personalization. It's not just about finding new drugs, it's about finding the right drug at the right dose for the right person. By analyzing our individual genetic profiles, SSL can help predict how you or I will respond to a medication, making healthcare safer and way more effective for every single one of us.
And you can see the impact directly in the clinic, too. Think about medical scans, like MRIs or CT scans. SSL models can learn from these massive hospital archives of unlabeled images, teaching themselves to spot the tiniest, earliest signs of a disease, like a tumor. That means earlier detection, more precise diagnosis, and just plain better outcomes for patients.
Now, of course, it's not all a walk in the park. Like any powerful new technology, SSL has its own set of hurdles to overcome, but the road ahead looks incredibly promising.
And it's important to be real about these challenges. First, data quality is everything. You've heard the saying, garbage in, garbage out. If the unlabeled data is too noisy, the model can learn the wrong lessons. Second, these algorithms have to be absolute workhorses to handle the sheer scale of real-world data. And finally, there's the black box problem. For doctors to really trust in AI, we need to understand why it's making a certain recommendation. That's a huge area of research.
But researchers are already tackling all of this head-on. The future is about making these models even smarter by baking in what we already know about biology. And the next frontiers? Wow. We're talking about applying SSL to understand the entire universe of complexity happening inside just one single cell, and even analyzing data that preserves the exact 3D location of every cell inside our tissues. It's just incredible. Which brings us to one final thought. For so long, the vast majority of all our biological data was this huge, untapped resource we couldn't make sense of. Now, with an AI that can actually learn from this vast, unlabeled, unknown, it really feels like we've just been handed a key to unlock countless biological mysteries. The only real question is, which one are we going to solve next?